We have the homeless representative of the Homeless Care Council here today. And we have y'all first on the list, I think, starting Bonnie, you,
Okay.
whoever y'all would like.
Okay. Well, I'm Bonnie Wallace, and I'm the Executive Director of the Homeless Care Council of Northwest Alabama. That includes Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, Marion, Winston, and Lawrence. I can do that when it's in front of me. Basically, the mission of the Homeless Care Council, and I'm just going to read it to you, is to equip and empower the community to end homelessness through advocacy, education, and coordination of services. So what we do is we, number one, work with Community Action, who coordinates services. We have, they have a program called Coordinated Entry, and every homeless person that we come across should have an entry in Coordinated Entry. Suzanne will talk more about that in a minute. But what I've put on in front of you up there is our strategic plan, which the past executive director and the board did about a year and a half process of gathering data, doing interviews, doing surveys, and finding out what we're lacking and what we need. And we have recently created a group called Housing Hope, and it has members from our organization. It has the mayor, has the chief of police, it has Captain Richard Watts from Salvation Army, and some members of his board also, and members of Community Action. And this group is working together to find solutions, maybe one at a time, but find solutions. And the most recent solution we have found is the bus program. We are renaming it. It's called Homeward Bound. We can thank Melissa Bailey for that. And the description is this, and I have copies for each of you of the bus program. Okay. The Homeward Bound Transportation Program helps people experiencing homelessness reunite with family and friends. So, number one, 21A, we are not sending people off. We're not going, hey, you've got to go away. People have to come to us and have a home to go to, they can't say, hey, I think I'd like to go to Las Vegas. They have to say, my mother lives in Birmingham, I'd like to get back to Birmingham. And then we can provide transportation for them. I'm not going to take up any more time. I'm going to pass this on to people who have a bit more information than I do. Suzanne Moore?
Hi, thank you all for letting us come today. I don't really know what you guys want to necessarily know from me. I can tell you what information I have. I am the HMIS lead manager. What that says is when you get a collaborative grant for a COC or a continuum of care that manages your 6 counties of homelessness, which is what we fall in here, you have to have someone that manages their data. So we, a couple of years ago, went out and partnered with Service Point, which is the leading data source in the country for capturing information on the homeless. I manage that data. What that means is I have to be within, I choose to be within 3%, but we entered an agreement where we have to be within 5% error rate of anyone that comes in contact in our area. So I manage the information about the homeless, from how long they've been homeless, how they became homeless, what their information is demographically, all of that. That is what I manage for our 6 county area. Now, coordinated entry is what I put in place last year through the Homeless Care Council within Community Action, because coordinated entry is something that HUD strongly suggests, and when you're getting funding, because coordinated entry does just what it suggests. It's a navigator for when a homeless person comes in contact with someone within your 6 county area. Now, our area is rural based, so we adopted a no wrong door policy, which simply means someone that walks into the Marion direct provider should get the same offer of resources that someone here in Florence gets. HUD requires that they are offered those resources. So a coordinated entry specialist, while someone may walk in a door in Marion County, They now contact our coordinated entry specialist, where we navigate the waters of where they go next. Do they go to an emergency shelter? Have we met their critical need? Are they able to work, which means they might be able to enter the CHANCE program, which is something Community Action does with the funding and getting them in what we call rapid rehousing. So there's different ways that we can help them, but you know, homelessness is complicated. It's like puzzle pieces to put together, and so coordinated entry facilitates that, and we manage that from Community Action.
I got a question. The bus program, which I find very interesting.
Yes.
How often does someone who is homeless come to you all or anyone and ask for help to go home? Because I've always heard, there's a stigma out there that they don't want to go home.
Right.
Homeless people don't want to go home. They don't want to go anywhere other than where they are. But I mean, do you have that? Do people come in and go, help me get home?
We do.
Okay.
It depends on the type of homeless person, and there are different ones. So there are your, what we call temporary crisis homeless. Those are people that are one paycheck away. So maybe it be those people that are about to be evicted. We help those. Your chronically homeless, they're your ones that you're seeing downtown that may have a mental disability or may have a substance abuse problem. Those may require something different. Sometimes though, they come to us, and I have been working with Chief Tyler and I've presented coordinated entry to all of his different roll call and all of his officers, his lieutenants. Just since implementing this program 4 weeks ago, we've already helped 4 people get to where they came from. A lot of times it happens here, the police will find someone who was in a part, maybe they were in a relationship and the part, it went sour, and so now they have a female here, or in this case, it was a male. They're here, they're from Oregon, he wants to go home. It's not a matter of we're asking him to leave. He literally does want to go home, he just has no way to get there. So if we can offer him a bus ticket, which for that individual was $150, we were able to get him where he wanted to be. We don't just ship them out, we get their information because we came in contact with them, we have to record that they were here. What did we do to help them? And where did they go? So we have to follow them through to where they're going. So we're not just sending them to another homeless destination.
And you do have to verify they have family where they're
We do.
going to.
And we verify with them that we're keeping this on record. It's not like you can go to Birmingham and see how things can work out, and when you don't like it, come back here and get another ticket.
Yeah.
It's not an open opportunity to use us whenever you need, but we're more than willing to help you if that's what you desire to get where you want to be. And so we've already helped 4 people, and I think, Chief Tyler can speak to that when he gets up here, but we've already seen it be helpful, and the Homeless Care Council has already dedicated a certain amount of funding to us that we can utilize once we justify that this person is eligible and a legitimate choice for that opportunity. But right now, I can tell you, I keep reports, I run them constantly. We have served 404 people since last October up until now. Not all of those are chronically homeless. When I say 404, that is a number of people that are temporarily about to be homeless. They might have gotten an eviction letter. So of those, we do help. I can run every last Wednesday of the month. I run a report that kind of tells me in our COC what does it look like. We run at about 140 people that are homeless continually. Of those, 33 are, in your range of living in shelters. Of those, 13 are considered chronically homeless. And you say, well, how do you know they're chronically homeless? Well, because we're now set up with a coordinated entry process, when we do an intake, we take them in, get their demographics. Then we also do an assessment on them. That assessment is a standardized test that's used across the country. It's called a VSBADAT. That's short language for a lot of words, but what it basically does is ask them the exact same questions that are, standard and correct and fair and equitable, and then it ranks them. And based on a status of 8 or above, it ranks them from 1 to a 20. So if they get a score 8 or above, they've shown that they are chronically homeless. They may have been homeless 3 times over the last year, 5 times over the last 3 years of 90 days or more. There's certain parameters they meet, but they have definitely fallen in that category. So that's how we find chronically homeless.
Thank you.
Is it funded by a grant?
The Homeward Bound or our?
Homeward Bound.
No, it comes from homeless care money that's been donated through and a small grant that was left over, or it could be CDBG money can go to something like that. It could be funded. You could even have donations from like the Downtown Alliance if they preferred. It's not that it's not open to donations. There's plenty of ways that we could find, that we could help with this funding of allowing people to get home in that sense.
Suzanne, I'm sorry. As you were working through the list of numbers, 140 were continually homeless, 33 were in shelters, and of that 33, 13 are chronically homeless. Are you finding that 13 number has increased? Is that fairly steady? Or how does that rank? Because this I would consider a 21-22 fiscal year number.
It is. Well, it started our year's run from October 1 to September 30th. So these numbers are coming from October 1, 2021 till now, to 2022. In order to find that number, we honestly know that that number is probably double because those are the people willing to talk to us, give us information. So we always assume that's just something HUD does, that there's probably double the number that we know of out there. But with that number is smaller right now because the weather is better. When the weather is good, people are not coming into shelters as much. So you would see that number a lot larger in your winter months or your extremely hot months when they want to get cool. So
Thanks.
right now that number is lower than normal.
More on the smaller side.
Yes, ma'am.
No, thank you.
I know 2 years ago, y'all actually sent individuals out to interview the homeless and why are they homeless and try to get, y'all, is that,
We do that. You're referring to the PID count. The
Yeah.
PID count is a point-in-time count that HUD requires that's done every week, the last week of January. Because if they want a snapshot of across the country, everybody, every COC that receives funding must go out and count the people that are either sheltered or that are non-sheltered. So we do 2 different counts. We capture who is in an emergency shelter, who is being taken care of, maybe in transitional housing, may even be in permanent supportive housing. Now, that's not something we have in our area at all. That is a place we are lacking. That's one of the reasons you see people downtown, because we don't have a place to put permanent supportive housing. Those people would be your people with a disability, a substance abuse, people that, you just know cannot take care of themselves, maybe need to be on their medicine. That is not something that we currently offer in our COC because we just don't have it. The emergency shelters are what we have. We do.
have y'all found that number has increased or decreased?
Number of homeless.
Right.
We've increased in the number of temporarily in crisis, I would say, because of COVID and the things that that's come up with. We've been able to combat that some, but we still have the same number of homeless that, we've had. You're not seeing as many right now, but because they've gone other places at the, at the same time, but we still have, I would say, Chief Tyler, we still have the same problems we've had.
And this is, I think it's important. Part of our homeless count are the clients at Safeway. So we're not just talking about people who are out in the system. We're
Yes,
talking
the
about-
domestic violence count is within that group number. And they're easily into the,
70.
yes, 78, 79.
The 404 served since October. Is that 404 different individuals?
Individuals, yes, it's individuals.
And also the Homeward Bound program, is that something that you've seen in other places, or are we unique in doing this?
Well, there's other places that have transportation voucher programs. So yes, they may have their own way to get help. For example, United Way right now has has a grant funding with and a partnership with Lyft, so you can get around town if you need to. We utilize them for the homeless that just need to get here and there, or you might, they use it in a lot of ways. But as far as going places, yes, other people have transportation vouchers that they give out. So this is kind of our small scale version of that for people that, need help but don't have a car.
Okay. I just want to say thank you, guys. We're running way behind.
Yeah.
For sure.
But thank y'all for coming and Sharon, we'll hope you'll come back.
Sure.
There's a lot of interest, and I know you're a job doing as well. Thank you.
Ms. Jordan, can I give the council 2 minutes? I'll be very quick. Here's what I wanted you all to see. Suzanne and Community Action are the experts. They are the homeless experts, the subject matter experts, not the police department. So far, the police department's been called on to try to help come up with some solutions, and we are the wrong resource to do that. They are the right resource. Those 404 people, that's over 6 counties. So here is my proposal. I'm going to give you a teaser, and you'll hear more about it as we move forward in our budget preparation. I'm going to come back to the council and ask for a direct appropriation from the council to Community Action that would be substantial enough to get a Suzanne Moore and clone her, or someone like her, or the staff, to just work in the city of Florence. These ladies at Community Action have to work 6 counties. We don't have a designated person in the city of Florence who can oversee that, be a point of contact. The first point of contact, the one that we can call when we see somebody on Court Street or we find them in a vacant house on Veterans Drive. We're the adversaries, not willingly, it's just the way it is. We're the ones who arrest them for trespassing. If we can get a designated social worker, caseworker, where we give a direct appropriation to Community Action for one individual who serves the city of Florence, I think it'll be money well spent, a good investment. We'll get a good return on our investment. Community Action plays well. They share the information with us. They're doing everything that the city asks, or that the mayor and I have asked of them to do. They're bending over backwards to work with us and try to provide a good service. And I think if we could partner with them, do a direct appropriation, to have someone who just works in the city of Florence, not necessarily 6 counties, that we would go a long way towards getting the homeless connected to the resources they need. Hopefully, reduce some of the visibility and the other things that are going on, but it gets people some help.
If you'll call them off after we vote, set up a meeting and ask them, we'll be glad to meet with you on that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Stay with them all.
Is Florence the highest percentage in all the 6 counties you work with?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I appreciate you and Community Action being proactive
Yeah.
in this instead of reactive. That means a lot. And I know y'all been working very closely together. And I appreciate the work that y'all do. Thank you.
Chief, y'all will recognize the rest of the group.
Yes, Jared Growell with Homeless Care. He's on the board of the homeless
He's president.
president. And then Bonnie, Suzanne Moore,
Mandy Dowdy.
Mandy Dowdy with Community Action as well. So they just, they're a huge help. We appreciate what they do very much to the citizens. And of course, there's Salvation Army and all the others that are providing good services, not necessarily represented as well.
And bring Jerry with you.
And we'll bring Jerry with us in finance. It's the day.
Thank y'all.
Okay.
I want to thank you for allowing us to do this. At the last meeting, you asked that we give an update. I know we got a crowded agenda, and we put the Salvation Army that'll be at a future meeting to give you an update. And I will say on the bus program, I've already had a number of folks that are interested in contributing dollars to pay. I have one item on the agenda, that's item C, and all it is a date change. I know we've been hearing about the Singing River sculpture for a long, long time, and it's coming together. I have seen pictures of it. Excited about it. All this, if you'll notice there, it says August the 21st. The University of Alabama asked us to update that, so Mr. Musgrove and Mr. Batson work together, and we've got that as an item on the agenda. Any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Bill. Nick.
Went everywhere.
I've got 3 items on the agenda for tonight. First item is enter into a contract with Civil Group. I think everybody is aware of the issues with the sportsplex. The city has submitted a set of plans to them and got a return with comments, and they submitted another set and got a return with comments. And this is not, this is actually typical because the state, it's their roads and they want it done right. But with issues within our department, the fact that we've got a civil engineer that has not been with us for about 2 months. We think he's about to come back. But, and also because of the issues with Parks and Rec, you know, I approached Civil Group, you know, about assisting us with this. Now, we're actually about 90% through with the plans. That's what we think we are. And he's gonna help us out with the final steps, you know, to help us when we can't provide what we need to because we're down a guy. And so basically, you know, this contract with Civil Group, I think it's for $5,273, and I'm asking the council to approve that.
Hey, motion, we. Go move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Edwards, second by Jimmy. All in favor of the motion? How much time?
Pardon?
5. Okay.
The second item on the agenda is the acquisition of a property for Monarch Tile, and this is part of the Rickwood project. And just to kind of give you a brief update, there's 8 properties that are with the Abstract Company, and they're going to start closing on Thursday and Friday. They hope to have 8 properties acquired, you know, for us to complete the closing process, you know, within the next couple of weeks. Monarch Tile is, you know, they've agreed to this amount. The remaining, you know, properties are, we just got 2 remaining properties, the Ellis property and the Simpson Brothers property. So we're close to having all the right of way that we need for the project.
Question?
Okay, third item is a contract with Jamie Alexander. Now, this is a project that I did talk to the street department, and they will be doing the work, but we don't have an easement for it, and it's a drainage issue that we have to address. And so Jamie's going to be, you know, working up the drainage easements for us, and we'll get the property owners to sign them so we can go ahead and complete this project.
Any questions? Thank you, Bill. Mary.
After a rainy afternoon. Okay, I have a couple items on the agenda. The first, I guess they're items
F
F through I, and we're gonna postpone I this time around. We're gonna put that on next time around. So it's just gonna be F, J, F.
Take it all.
Yes, I's coming off. The first one is an agreement with TVA to enter into their home uplift program. And it's basically a program to help low-income families to do energy upgrades on their homes, which I talked to, those of y'all heard me talk about that previously. So what this is an agreement with TVA and a partnership to, with Pathway Lending to pay the $83,632 for the Florence's share of the home uplift program for TVA to match those funds, and TVA is going to pay for the running of the program. So that's the first. And then this, does anybody have any questions about that?
You might want to explain that to council.
Okay.
And to the homeless council.
So basically, it's a program that we're partnering with TVA with, and it's for low-income households. And there's a certain criteria that people have to meet in order to qualify for it. They have to be homeowners. They have to be like 200% of the what the federal government says a low-income household, either single family or multiple family household. And if they qualify, Community Action's has partnered with us to pick the families that qualify for this. And we hope to do 16 families the first year. And like I said, TVA is a 50-50 share between us and TVA for the cost of it. And basically they go in and do an energy audit, and then they have a certain amount of funds that they use to update their homes. And so basically, I mean, it's, you know, they can change out central units, they can, put insulation in, they can replace windows, they can do anything that helps their energy costs is the basic reason for this. Any questions? Any more questions? And the second thing is a memorandum of understanding with Community Action to give them permission to partner with TVA and Clear Result to give them our customer information who qualifies for the program, is what the second item is. Any questions about that?
To apply for the home uplift.
Yes, so basically,
To community action.
well, Community Action is just submitting us, well, actually not us, but TVA, a list of our customers throughout the county that qualify for it. So we're not asking for people to apply, it's basically they're picking from the people that currently already qualify for it. Because Community Action has all that data, and they keep up all that data, so it's just basically asking them to send us information, so.
Thank you.
And the last is a contract with Fueling Systems Incorporated. They are doing, for $3,651, they are doing a couple of things for us. They are installing basically a stick in where we can one of our older tanks, they're installing us a location we can put a stick into the tank so we can get readings how much fuel's in the tank. Another one, they're replacing some hoses for us. They're replacing some of the basically some of the retractable where they go in and they don't just sit out there all the time, updating some of the hoses that we currently have. And it says extending the air eliminator achievement on the tank and eliminate a plug that we have on the tank. So this is a contract with them to do those services for us.
Any questions?
Any questions? And like I said, the last one, we're gonna postpone to the next time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. We've got two items. The first item is item J, to approve a contract for Shoals Pressure Washing. They're going to be cleaning 12 tennis courts at our Cox Creek facility. As you can see, the courts are used by the public and also by the school systems. Florence City Schools has agreed to pay a third of that cost, and I've reached out to Lauderdale County to see if they'd pay the other third.
So a third of the 5850?
That's right, yes, ma'am.
That's good math. When you get somebody else to help pay.
That's right. Well, Florence City Schools is committed. It's just, I've reached out and unheard from Lauderdale County. But they need, needed to be done, so. The next one is item K, to approve a quote from Hand Service Company, and that is to repair a pump number 8 at River Heritage, and this is a pump that controls the nozzles on the splash pad. And that amount is $8,211.
Is that a Memorial Day opening again?
Plan on that, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Was there somebody going, do you want to add one?
No, we're good with that. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I only have one item. The Urban Forestry Department would like to enter into contract with Engineers of the South for proposed construction of a maintenance building behind our existing shop. We've run out of room. They would deal with the site prep, the design, building specs, so far and so forth. A lot more fine print than I can explain. That is basically it, and if y'all would like a copy of what I have proposed, just let me know. I've got it right here.
Where's the building, Craig?
Directly behind our shop on Darby, right next to Children's Museum. We've run out of space again, and we're locked in on both sides between the school and Children's Museum, so the only place to go is back.
Is it going to replace that dilapidated shed?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. That's
What
a
size
long
building
time.
is it?
As of right now, it's 50 by 84.
Y'all sort of dress that up a little bit.
Sir?
Y'all dress that up a little bit, it will be.
Yes, probably.
It's pretty.
Does that building have sides or is that a pole
Yes.
barn?
It-
That's
no,
a good
it will
price.
not be it will not be a pole barn. It will be three-sided as of right now. It's still in the somewhat design phase. And with the area that it sits on, and there's a major elevation change. There's gonna be a lot of site work that needs done, and it will be three-sided and fenced in and surveyed, obviously, because we are very, very, very close to River Hills property. So yes,
That's an exceptional price.
this is just for their, like I said, their engineering services. This is not, for the construction of the building.
Craig, I would like a copy of that because that is my district, please, sir. And that building has been a long time coming.
Well, we've torn down 3/4 of it. We did that last year. Because it was,
It's falling in.
yeah, pretty much. Any questions?
Construction, it says so.
No, this is not construction. This is just the initial design and spec phase.
I read it as the construction, that's why I thought it was a great job.
Oh, I think, yeah, I'd get 100 of those built if I get it done at that price.
I wanted to know who your contractor was. That's site prep.
Well, and a lot more than that, but
Thank you, Rick. Anything else?
that'll be all. Any other questions?
Mike?
Thank you.
I've got 3 items. The first 2 are M and N, and the other one was added. I'm not sure where it's at on the agenda, but it was like one that was missed and added onto the agenda. The first one is Cypress is item M on consent agenda. It's that we accepted bids March 29th for the Cypress Creek wastewater treatment plant improvements under our SRF program, and there was one bidder, BH Craig, which is local, in the amount of $6,443,000. This will be the first major work that we've had done on that plant in over 20 years.
What kind of interest rate did
It's off those loans we've already got. It's 2.1 and 2, or actually 1.99. Those have already been submitted. The next one is N, and we took bids on March 8th for a galvanized replacement phase 4. Bids range from $2,220,991 to $3,167,407. And it's recommended that we accept the low bid from CG Jones LLC in the amount of $2,220,991. That's this continuing ongoing program of working on this galvanized pipe in the system.
What part of town is that?
I don't have the list on these.
Okay.
They're all over town. That's right.
Okay,
Every district's gonna be hit by these.
thank you.
Any idea how long it will take?
This one here, I think, is 365 calendar days, 1 year. It's tough on doing this stuff in town. There's no right-of-ways. You're going to existing right-of-ways, sidewalks, driveways, things that people have put on the right-of-way, things like that. So it's a slow process. And we do get plenty of calls about it, but
I wish there was a way that when you do street pavings that you guys could sync it. I know that you're talking
yeah, it's hard to
But you
do.
pave a street and then you go in and fix things which is needed.
Yeah.
When you just tore up and just.
We wish we were out of the street altogether, but we got nowhere to go.
I know. But thank you all.
Thank you. And the last one is the one that was added that was missed. It's where we took bids March 8th for the Killen water tank. It's none of our SRF improvements. The bids were from $4,534,000 to $4,891,000. The low bidder was CB&I Storage Tank Solutions. And this is also, like the rest of these, all from the SRF funds that we've already had approved or got submitted for the next round.
And what was that?
How much was the?
Uh,
1.8.
the low amount was $4,534,000.
Which item is that gonna
That'll be item C under the regular agenda, sorry, 12C.
be? Okay.
And these tanks, and I mentioned this in this memo that was sent out back March 13th, these projects are all coming in high. And on these tanks, especially steel, is up about 5 times its normal price. But it's not going down, so the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets. So we're just gonna have to be looking at either dropping some projects toward the end or possibly borrowing more money when time comes around. Because they are coming in high on everything.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, listen to it, back it up now.
It's good scratch. Yeah. It's good scratch paper.
Tell me about C.
All right. So just taking a look at the work session agenda, there's an item on here referring to a change order for Keep Consulting. That actually is a contract amendment and is not something that you all would approve at a work session. So I'm going to go back to working through Billy's office and make sure that that comes back to you, third time's a charm, as a contract amendment. So you can forget about the change order, and I did refer to it as a change order in the memo, but it is a contract amendment, not a change order. So you'll get a resolution to that effect. None of the information won't change as far as the cost amounts, but because it's a fixed contract and we're changing the amount and it involves money, then the actual contract needs to be amended other than a change order. As far as the items on the council agenda, there are 2. One is a public hearing and a vote on a proposed rezoning of 3.5 acres at Crown and Peachtree Street from R2 to R3 with a conditional overlay. You have some information there in your memo, but it is a unanimous recommendation. The conditional overlay was self-imposed by the builder. He will have to conform to the site plan that he has submitted. If there are any changes to that site plan, it has to come back to the planning commission. There are 4 structures that they are proposing to build on the site for a total of 26 units. Does anybody have any questions?
Has there ever been a proposal for this same site before?
For the site?
Yes, for
There
that.
was a request for a rezoning about 15 years ago.
How would you know that to be true? I see people
Because I
behind you
work here.
shaking their heads.
Because I work here.
So nothing has ever been
18
done.
years as of 2 weeks ago.
So no one has asked to do this in 15 years.
Correct.
There could have been rumors,
Certainly.
but never in the last 15 years has someone proposed to building anything here.
That's not through my office, no. Not for a
But
rezoning or a subdivision.
But they couldn't build anything without coming through your office, correct?
They could build a house.
A house only. Okay, thank you.
That would go through the building department.
One house per.
Correct. Per lot. One per lot.
Will there be a water retention pond
A pond?
or
No,
something
they're.
to handle water?
Yes,
Bill,
they have a
excuse me.
full-blown, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I think this was a big part of the public hearing.
It definitely, yeah, it definitely
Yeah.
can be, yeah.
Okay,
You want to do it?
that was my last question.
It will.
Water retention.
It has a stormwater detention system,
Okay.
yes.
In place or gonna have
Major, no, it'll have to be designed and approved prior to permits being issued.
Okay.
You have to have you have to know what you have to have your construction plans to know what you're going to build and where,
Okay. I won't ask.
and design your stormwater detention system based on what you're building.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I had a couple others, but I'll ask them.
sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We have a copy of that. I received my first report. And I had no opportunity to approve it. Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
So the other item is item 12B, which is the annexation of property that's located at 30 County Road 30. I don't know how lucky they got to get that address, but it is a service station with a full-service convenience store, hardware store, lots of stuff going on that corner.
The new one.
Right, the new one.
New cousin, new
Yeah.
cousins.
So they have requested annexation into the city, and of course with annexation, that is the final authority for annexation lies with the council. So you all, there are not public hearings that are held on annexations, so that's why you don't see that. You only see it once on the agenda and not under your public hearing section. Just for the benefit of the council, because there's, not a public hearing to that effect, the Florence Fire Rescue required that the building and the site undergo an inspection prior to it being advertised for annexation, and that was completed and it passed inspection. So very important that when we do annex property, that we're not annexing property that could be considered to be substandard, whether it's the building itself or the public infrastructure that is placed on the property, such as utilities or stormwater detention systems, et cetera.
I was looking at the pictures, and the sign was put up on Fulton Street rather than on Crown Street. Is the entryway gonna be on Crown, or is it gonna be on Fulton?
The entryway is on Crown. All access is on Crown Street. And posting signs is something that the city of Florence does as a, I don't want to use the word courtesy, but that's all that's come to mind right now. It is not something that is, rooted in law, that a sign has to be posted.
Okay, so that's not a law.
No, we post for the planning commission, we place a sign, and for the city council, and we send adjoining property owner letters. For the city council, they also post a sign, and the legal description is advertised.
Thank you.
Mhm. For almost a month, plus the public hearing. Yes, we double up, triple up, quadruple up. Oh, absolutely. We exceed the standards required by state law.
When you build a project this size, is there a requirement for a number of parking places?
Yes,
Is that one per unit, or do you know how that works?
it's 2 per unit.
Okay.
26 in 4 buildings. The site will hold many, many more than that, but the developer is under a self-imposed conditional overlay and will not exceed the 26. But it could hold a lot more, just by general zoning ordinance standards.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Next, we have, mayor council discussion on the solar broadband.
Your explanation in an email that said that, is it tomorrow that the lawyer, somebody's going to be looking at it?
We're going down to mayor and I and the city attorney.
Did your microphone on?
No, sir. Tomorrow, the mayor, city attorney, and I meet with the head of that.
Okay, thank you.
And to see what's going on.
Do you-
General questions.
Do you anticipate it coming before this council for a vote
No.
to accept it or not accept the proposal?
Yes.
Okay. And I appreciate you're taking that a step further with the meeting tomorrow. I just wished it had been yesterday.
What,
I understood that couldn't happen.
I didn't understand. Go ahead. When do you think, I mean, there's some other issues involved. Do you think about taking the vote today?
No.
Okay.
Just asked if it would be a vote.
Yes, it will.
Eventually, after you meet with
It
the
will.
DECA people.
Yes, sir.
what is the, I think I asked you this the other night in the email, but explain what the holdup is and why we've waited so long to get the answers that we want, because we've known about this for a couple of months. And all the other cities and utilities.
This is about the broadband, by the way.
And I don't understand why we're not voting on this tonight. I mean, I would request that we do vote on it tonight.
Well, I think one reason is our attorney haven't had a chance to look at the document.
Well, I guess that was my question. We've had it for a couple of months. I mean, everybody else looked at it already. The other city attorneys have looked at it. UNA attorneys have looked at it. I mean, why are we not? Why are we not?
You'll have to ask the attorney there. I'm not an attorney.
Well, it's embarrassing to me for our city, having the biggest population out of all the cities, in every other city and every other utility has already voted, including Tuscumbia last night, to go forward with this, and we're still kind of puttering around and not, and I mean, this is a game changer for our area. And this is a group that can put the Shoals area, the city of Florence, as first priority when it comes to broadband, and we're just, I really don't understand what the concerns are, because all these other attorneys obviously have looked at it and they're okay with it. So if there's something that is concerning, I'd like to hear what it is. I mean, I know Tuscumbia last night they just changed some wording in it about not being liable for any money right now.
And I think they put it off too.
No, they didn't. They voted on it last
They
night.
supposed on one last little time, a few months or weeks ago.
Well, I talked to Mayor Underwood this morning, and they passed it unanimous
I
last
didn't say
night.
they didn't pass it. I said they had not had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Musgrove is here, let him answer. Since
Microphone.
Your mic's not on.
I'm sorry. Dick referring to our attorney, Mr. Musgrove is here. Nobody's better to answer that than the attorney himself.
I have looked at this. I looked at this a long time ago, and I've looked at it a lot of times, and I've raised my concerns internally with the mayor several times, and he raised them with the cooperative people at least once or twice or more. Nothing was changed. I don't think they felt like they had an issue, and it's just strictly a legal matter. It's just a cooperative authority has to be formed by cities, counties, and public corporations. There are two entities that are involved in this that are not any of those three, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the city's bond lawyer. And bond lawyers are really familiar with these things because this is what they do they form these corporations more than anyone else because normally, a lot of these type corporations are only formed to do a financing, like the city created the Public Building Authority to finance City Hall. And so, but the bottom line is, I spoke with their attorney here in Florence yesterday, and he's out of commission, I mean, not out of commission, but he's out of pocket today, but he got in touch with their attorney in Birmingham, who I emailed, and he emailed me today at 2, and he had hoped to have a memo explaining or addressing the questions we had. He hoped it would be here by 3 o'clock today, but as of right now, I still haven't gotten it. But they are working on that. And whether these two entities can participate as authorizing subdivisions is really not relevant to the substantive part of this project. It's just a matter of, are they going to be members or not?
Well, I know you were out of town last week when we had the meeting with Mr. Blassingame, and he was, as a matter of fact, just walked in, but he was explaining to us that the purpose of going ahead and voting to be a part of this cooperative right now is to be able to come together as one big group for having more strength of getting the money that we need, that we're not obligated to any money right now. It's just showing, working together as an entire Shoals area will help the strength of getting the money we need. And we're not obligating ourselves to any money. I know Mr. Jordan was worried about incurring some debt right now, and he explained that that's not the case. And if we want to get out later on, we can get out later on. But
well, that's not true. I mean, the bottom line is once you form the corporation, it exists until the the cooperative district dissolves itself. But with that being said, no, the city is not committing itself to any financial liability whatsoever, because in order for the city to have any financial liability, the council would have to approve that separately. So there's no, there is no, and all of the stuff that you said about coming together, that's all way above my pay grade. That's for the elected officials to decide. All I'm saying is there's a question in my mind as to whether two of the entities that are currently members of this or purported to be members, proposed to be members, can legally do it. And like I said, one of the attorneys representing the people putting the district together is working on this. I mean, I spoke with, or I didn't speak with him, I emailed with him at 2.
this may be an unfair question. You could probably tell me either shut up or you don't know one or the other. But I guess going back to my original question, I mean, obviously there were 3, 4, 5 attorneys from the other entities involved that I didn't see any issues with it. And I don't know.
Well, there may not be an issue, but I think there is. And again, it's a very minor issue in the whole scheme of things, but all it has to do with is who will be in the district. And that's what our bond attorney thought. And so I sent this to the attorneys for the cooperative district and just said, here are 2 questions we have. And they're working on that. And as of yet, I haven't gotten a response.
Yeah. Well,
If this is formed with 9 different pieces to the group, and let's say 2 of them decide to withdraw within a year, is it still operable, or does it dissolve when members choose to leave?
The only way it can be dissolved without possibly court action is if the board of directors of the cooperative district adopts a resolution dissolving it.
Okay.
And so once this is created and the city appoints 4 board members, then the city, I guess, really doesn't have to participate anymore. It can sort of withdraw or not be involved in it. But those 4 board members that the city appointed are on the board, and the cooperative district continues. But like I said, there's no financial liability involved in it.
well, then can we go ahead and vote on this tonight?
You definitely can if you want to. Like I said, I don't know that two of the entities in the documents that I have are able to be in it, but they can always go back and
Change it.
amend the certificate of incorporation, but that involves every single entity approving it again, so.
Well, I'd like to request that we vote on it tonight, Mr. President.
I had a lot of questions, and I asked a lot of questions, and I dare say very few of my questions got answered. The answer kept going back to when we form this entity, then we'll have answers. I want answers now. I also want to know, I understand that this money that they're receiving is match money.
I don't know anything about
And
it.
if that's a match, where's that money coming from? I mean, after the project is done, it's reimbursed. I mean, we're talking about maybe $2-3 million of match. How many?
That's just our portion, correct?
Who's gonna pay it?
I mean, but you're talking about just Florence.
No, to get the whatever $1 million, the 27 million is at least a 10% match. So who's gonna come up with that? Who's gonna pay the rent on the poles? I mean, we're not talking about $20,000-$30,000 for rent on poles that you use. We're talking about maybe $1 million. So where's that money coming from? Do we know? We don't know. I mean, is there an answer for that? We can find out how many poles gonna be used. And the other concern I have is, the city of Florence just has 4 votes. Lauderdale County has 45,000 households versus Carver County's 26,000 households. That's the U.S. Census. Why do we just have 4 votes? I mean, there's just a lot of questions that I have that I haven't gotten answers from. And until we sign up and join the coalition, then, we might get answers. Then it's too late then. I mean, my concern is the city of Florence. I mean, that's what I'm elected to do, is do what's best for the city of
Well, it
Florence.
wouldn't be too late then, according to what he just said. I mean, we can get out.
We can't get out. He just said we can't get out unless they dissolve the coalition.
Well, the cooperative district would continue to exist until
Right.
it decided to dissolve itself. But the city, I mean, I don't know how else to describe it other than the city is not financially obligated. So, but, and again, as far as whether this is a good idea or a great idea or an okay idea, I don't express any of it. I have no idea. I don't know, because I don't know enough about broadband. All I'm looking at specifically were these 2 legal questions that their attorneys are working on and responding to. They just didn't meet the deadline they had hoped to, and that's understandable because I was out of town last week and they just talked about it. I mean, I just called Michael Shippard yesterday. So, and he, like I said, he's out of pocket today, so, but he told me he wasn't the one to answer the questions anyway. He said it was his partner in Birmingham, a gentleman named Ryan Moore, who is the corporate lawyer, so.
Materially speaking, Billy, if these 2 entities are not participatory in it, how would that affect the overall incorporation of the cooperative?
Well, I mean, it doesn't, other than those 2 entities not being authorizing subdivisions, I don't think it affects it at all. Other than you just have to have different documents that don't include those 2 entities. So, so that's what I was saying. I don't really think that this affects the substance. It's just that you don't want to incorporate it and have 2 members, or at least I don't think you do. And then if they determine that, yeah, these entities can't be members, you have to go back and do it all over again. So, they may convince our bond lawyer and me that there is an issue with those 2 entities. I'm afraid there is. But I don't think it would, if the 2 entities weren't part of it, I don't think it would affect the actual, I mean, I don't really know enough about what they're proposing to do, but I don't think it would, just minus 2 entities, it wouldn't affect anything, I don't think.
Any other discussion?
So can we put that on the agenda and go and have a vote tonight, Mr. President? And-
You'll have to have a motion and,
Well, I'd like to make a motion.
here a second. I guess the motion's out of code.
Apparently it does.
Is that it? Okay, thank you.
As soon as you get that information.
As soon as I've been checking my
Mr. Crowe,
email.
I've been sitting here with, trying to give it to you for the last 15 minutes.
Oh.
They would recognize it. That's the document you're looking for.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I
They
will.
showed up with it.
Okay, I will definitely review this.
So you got the answer he's been asking for?
That's, I've been sitting here with that document,
Yeah.
answer, that solved these two problems.
Well, I mean, what's me to call him to the podium?
Do what? He needs to get it to Mr. Musgrove. I don't know why he didn't get it to him.
It's in his email right now, and I have it with me to give to him. Answer all the questions if he gets that.
Mr. Oliver, I didn't second because our president said we will get this to a vote.
Yeah.
And after tomorrow, I expect us to be able to bring it to a vote.
Yeah.
Any other comments? John, want to take a break? You go first. Yeah, like, we'll do that.
2 minutes.
Yeah. We'll be back in 2 minutes.